Budget blower has hit the UK. Say hello to the Oppo A54 5G, the successor to the excellent Oppo A53, now with a bit of hot 5G action. Whoa. You got some pretty solid specs packed into the Oppo A54 for a £219 price point, including a 90Hz display. You've got a Snapdragon chipset and a 5,000 milliamp mega battery, Oppo's own word. It's not mine. So what I'm going to do now is whip the Oppo A54 5G on out of the box, take you on a full-on tour of the hardware and the software, and also compare it to the Oppo A74 5G, which is just in a condom case as well, so you can keep your A54 safe from harm. Right, box done. Now the full. Stick the Oppo A74 5G, you'd probably bloody struggle to tell them apart because they are essentially identical. What you get here is, again, a 190-gram plastic chassis available in just a couple of different colours. This is the fluid black model, or you can also grab it in fantastic purple, which might be slightly overselling it. It's not exactly the Fantastic Four or anything here, but it looks quite nice. Despite being constructed from plastic, the Oppo A54 5G certainly feels reasonably durable. Certainly there's no obvious flex or anything like that on there. You do have quite a shiny rear surface is the only problem, so it does sort of pick up greasy marks and prints, although the black finish and the fact that you've got kind of a frosted glaze to it does help to mask the worst of it. You've got an edge-mounted fingerprint sensor built into that power button there on the side, and you've got, yes, glory be, a headphone jack down below, right alongside at that Type-C USB port. Okay, so the Oppo A54 5G is set up. When I say set up, there's still quite a lot of setup action left to do, because although it is running the latest, freshest Android 11 OS, you do have the ColorOS 11 slapped on top, which means that by default you don't get the likes of an actual apps tray. So I do usually spend a good amount of time setting up any Oppo smartphone, so it's got that more stock Android sort of vibe, starting with actually bringing back that bloody apps tray. And there we go. Now we can start dealing with all of this clutter, get all these messy apps tidied away. Well, there gives us some like Facebook and TikTok. I'm just gonna straight up get rid of the bloody things. The good thing about ColorOS is may take a little bit of work, but you can fully customize the things, so you can change the layout of the grids, actually change up the style of the icons as well if you like. You've also thankfully got a good bit of one-handed help on the Oppo A54, which is your usual 6.5-inch beast, so you can drag down that notifications bar from anywhere on the screen. And if you do happen to have...
Good job. Subscribe uende. Subscribe kwa channel ya Bro.
Well, you can drag them down towards the bottom end of the display just by
subscribe kwa channel ya Bro.
Also go to dodge it in the convenience tools and just change. Don't like the old school navigation bar, prefer the swipe gestures.
Ati? Hata mimi sijui. Kwani siwezi ona watu wenye wamejoin? Ati one. Wacha iflow bwana, wacha iende.
And then after all of that, it's just a case of rearranging the icons so they're the way I like them, and we're basically done. Oh, hold up, one last final little thing. Got to get the geeky anime wallpaper on the go, of course. There we go, all done and dusted. Now, as always, ColorOS is a bit of a hit and miss, love it or hate it style affair. That settings menu always makes my heart skip a beat whenever I see it, but definitely not in a good way. And this is certainly quite a dense launch, but it does pack in some decent features as well. So, for instance, there are lots of great gesture support, the usual screen recording tools. I do quite like the aesthetics in many ways as well, makes a change from the usual stock Android fare. And there's some other bits on here like game space, which I'll touch on in a bit. And I was ever so slightly concerned that the Oppo A54 5G didn't have NFC support because it wasn't listed in the specs, but thankfully it does. And as you can see there, you do have full Google Pay support with that too. As mentioned before, when I was banging on about design, you've got that edge-mounted fingerprint sensor just built into that power button. So all you have to do is lightly tap your digit against that surface, and as you can see, it unlocks the phone in a jiffy. And that is complemented by an also excellent bit of face recognition as well, which, as you can see there, just as nippy. Again, barely even see the lock screen before you're straight in. So far, so very, very identical, in fact, to the Oppo A74 5G. No differences whatsoever. Until you get to the storage, that is the first difference between these two smartphones, because if you can actually find the storage, there it is in that ridiculously hideous settings menu. You've got 64 gigs here on the A54, whereas you can double that for the A74. It's got 128 gigs. But it doesn't really matter too much because both the A54 and the A74 support micro SD expandability on top of dual SIM support. Now, on the 6.49-inch LTPS panel, it's once again Full HD plus resolution 2400 by 1080, which at least means you've upgraded from the 720p basic display of the A53, which was one of the main pinpoints of that otherwise brilliant blower. And yeah, you don't get the same gorgeous, sharp contrast that you do from an OLED panel, which you will find on some budget blowers around this sort of price point. There's no Disney Plus or whatever on this all afternoon long, despite the annoying selfie orifice, which is, of course, ever present in the corner. And if you scroll right down and jump into the more section, you'll see that you've got a screen refresh rate option as well. This is set to 90 Hz by default. You can bump it down to 60 Hz if you don't want to save on battery life. I like it at that nice smooth 90 Hz level. As for your audio, well, again, like the A74, it's just a single mono speaker set up down here below. The earpiece speaker does not pump out your media audio, but let's see how good it is. Sadly, the Pixel 4a 5G hasn't dropped at all in price since launch. It'll still cost you 500 bob. And no difference in terms of the actual output. Reasonably loud on that top volume, a little bit of distortion, but nothing too major. But of course, at least you've got that headphone jack if you do want to get connected up, get some proper lossless audio on the go. And if you jump on into the audio settings as well, you've got Dirac 2.0 audio processing. You'll find the Real Sounds technology feature buried away in those sound settings. This, as you can see, is set to smart by default, so the audio output will be tinkered with in the background to suit whatever you're up to, watching a movie, playing a game, whatever. And as for performance, again, not much difference between the A54 and the A74. They're both powered by the Snapdragon 480 chipset, which is Qualcomm's most affordable 5G platform right now, although you do get 6 gigs of RAM here in the A74 compared with just 4 in the A54. Of course, that Snapdragon 480 chipset should be up to the task of a bit of PUBG, Call of Duty or whatever, but just to be perfectly sure, let's jump on into good old game space. We'll boost it up to Pro Gamer mode. Ooh, accompanied with jazzy sound effects and everything, and then give it a go. And yes, you do have the usual game assistant tools as well, which you can swipe out like so if you need to access, again, the performance mode. You can block notifications and reject calls as well, so you are not bothered at all while you're busy capping morphos online. You can record the action, all kinds of great stuff. So it's still Call of Duty Mobile on the maxed out frame rate on the high detail settings, and the performance was absolutely flawless. Nice, smooth, consistent frame rate throughout the game. The Adreno 619 GPU certainly seems to handle life quite admirably. The 180 Hz touch sampling rate really helped as well, so the screen was super responsive, perfect for swinging around super fast, sniping someone in the face before they get you in the arse. And that 480 chipset must be pretty energy efficient as well, because there wasn't much heat build up even after a couple of games of a pretty intensive action. My hands were getting quite sweaty, but not, thankfully, because the phone was hot as hell. And thanks to that Snapdragon 480 chipset, you've also got full 5G support on the A54 5G, as you would kind of expect. So again, the same as the A74 as far as the connectivity goes, and there should be bugger all difference between these phones when it comes to battery life as well, because they both pack in a mighty 5,000 milliamp mega battery, certainly on the A74 5G keeps me going all day long, no worries, no matter what I'm up to. And because they're both running the same chips set and everything, you'd expect the performance, the battery life to be identical. That said, however, the A54 5G does max out at 10 watt charging, whereas the A74 maxes out at 18 watts, so it is a lot quicker. But you can leave them both plugged in overnight. They've got smart charging capabilities, so hopefully the battery shouldn't overcharge and therefore potentially be balked in the long run. And that's end, as always, with a squint at that camera tech. You've got spearheaded by a 48 megapixel A50. You've got the usual solution. However, at that best left for when the lighting is really, really good. As well as that 48 meg primary sensor, you've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens for a pulled out view of the action as well. And then don't get too excited about having like telephoto lenses or anything like that. The final two lenses are a 2 megapixel monochrome lens and a 2 megapixel macro lens. You've got the usual bonus modes on here. You've got the portrait mode action where you can change up the bokeh level to suit your own particular tastes. Got a night mode, of course, for those low light shots. And if you flick along to more, you've got a handful of extra bonus bits on there as well, including, of course, the macro mode, yippee hooray, and the pro mode as well, where you can tinker with the white balance, the focus level, all that good stuff. If you want to shoot a whole movie, just flick to the video mode. Unfortunately, I believe that this tops out at full HD resolution, just like the A74. Yep, no 4K option on there. And then last up, of course, around front, you've got a 16 megapixel selfie shooter, again with the portrait smart. I believe you can use the night mode and share online, or let's just put that straight in the bin. So that right then, in a nutshell, is the Oppo A54 5G. Quite a snippet, 219 quid here in the UK. If you're not bothered about the extra memory or storage, and you want to save yourself a few extra bucks, then obviously it's an alternative to the Oppo A74. Of course, the competition is very strong in the budget 5G realms right now in 2021. I did round up my favorite, the best budget 5G smartphones you can get right now here on TechSperts. Go check that out for a look at some of the closest rivals. I really like the likes of the Xiaomi Mi 10T Lite. I will be doing a full review of that Oppo A74 imminently, and check back soon for more unboxings of more budget 5G smartphones, including the likes of the Redmi Note 10 5G and the Motorola Moto G50 as well. Please do subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a fan-bloody-tastic rest of the day. Cheers, everyone. Love you.